This is Rob the Many with my broken thoughts, recapping UFC Chicago, the prelims. So the story of the prelims was a whole lot of boring split decisions were given out tonight. I really hated the prelims with a fiery passion of a million suns. So if you recorded UFC Chicago tonight, you go ahead and skip the prelims. You go right to the main card, unless you really feel like torturing yourself. First fight up was number 6 ranked bantamweight Eddie Wineland versus number 12 ranked Brian Caraway. Right off the bat, Caraway got a takedown, and then the two kind of broke down into a jab fest. Both guys showed an ability to kind of land a jab. Weiland got opened, Caraway got opened over their eyes. Both of them were really kind of connecting. You know, there really wasn't, we give or take, there really wasn't a more dominant hand here. It was just kind of, punch for punch for both. And then going into the second round, Caraway started to run away with it. It seemed like Wineland couldn't really figure out something with, whatever Caraway was doing. There's something about the way Caraway was using the jab that was really throwing off Wineland. Like, maybe eating so many jabs kind of made him a little bit shy, and he kind of really pulled back from the fight a little bit. And so basically, it was just Caraway just kind of throwing, and every once in a while, answering. Felt like then at the end of round 3, Wiley kind of came out and tried to close it out. But at that point, he needed to knock him out or he was going to lose. And he just didn't catch him. So, Caraway won by unanimous decision. The weird part was that one judge saw it 30-27. It was 29-28, very clearly. There's really nobody that really stood out. There really wasn't a lot of action, except for like the first round where it seemed like they were having a jab war. But after that, like the pace slowed down a lot, and it just so happened that Caraway kind of outstruck Weiland. And so you have a bit of an upset here. The number 6 ranked bantamweight loses to the number 12 ranked. So I would guess that those, I wouldn't say they quite flip-flop, but I would say, Eddie probably drops down to 10, where Caraway probably jumps up to like 8, 7, somewhere around there. And probably is knocking on the door of at least a top 5 ranked fighter type fight. The second fight was Ben Saunders versus Kenny Robertson, the welterweight. Saunders kind of came out. Again, this was not the best fight in the world, but Saunders almost drops Kenny with a huge, but then that's followed up by a huge shot from Kenny to Ben's temple. Straight on the temple. I'm not quite sure how Ben survived that, earning a knockdown to end the round. And then, in the second fight, in the second round, it felt like Saunders kind of outstrike Kenny, but he was starting to show signs of his cardio going. He was taking really deep breaths. You could see in his diaphragm. And he looked really tired, and he was really wobbly. And then in the third round, Robertson took him down, but didn't do a whole lot with it. So, each fighter kind of neither fighter really did that much to really decide the fight. Each person kind of did a little bit, and they kind of were a wash. So I was kind of interested to see how this was going to be scored. I guess the prelims decision, a particular one, really had Twitter on fire when the prelims started. I don't watch the pre-prelims. I just don't feel like it's necessary. And I guess they didn't agree with the way the judges saw it, so they were really antsy about this one. And one judge gave it to Sanders 29-28. One judge gave it to Robertson 29-28, and then the third judge gave it to Saunders 29-28. So again, another close fight, but I would say wasn't because it was a good fight, mostly because there's a lot of lack of action, and neither fighter, in my opinion, did really, in my opinion, enough to win the fight. Just somebody has to win, I guess. They probably don't really like to do draws. I don't even know if they can do draw. Still learning a little bit about UFC. I love the sport, but it's just kind of like I'm guessing that draw is really, really rare. I guess if somebody had to win, I guess you give it to Saunders, but I don't care. I really didn't care. This fight was not that great. That was basically my feeling about the entire prelims. But not to be outdone in awfulness, Jim Miller versus Danny Castillo. I mean, this fight, oh my God. This fight nearly made me lapse into a coma, never to awake again. This fight was just awful. Miller basically caught a leg kick, took Castillo down in round one, and basically rode out the round. And then in round two, basically a whole lot of nothing. I mean, literally. I mean, and there might have been 10 punches between the two. I mean, they actually connected. There's just a lot of feinting and a lot of nothing. And then we were in round three, which Castillo won. So guess what happened? We go to judges' scorecard again. It was 29-28 Castillo, 29-28 Miller, 30-27 Miller. Miller wins by split decision. That's the second split decision on the prelims. Again, in my opinion, neither fighter really did a whole lot to really prove that they were a winner in my eyes. I mean, in my eyes, you have to knock somebody out or tap somebody out, or you have to really dominate the fight to prove that you won. Back and forth fight where basically neither person does a whole lot. It really isn't very much of a winner in my opinion. I mean, I guess Miller just did enough to kind of steal this one, but in my opinion, he can't really hang his hat on that one. He really didn't do a lot to deserve this win. To round out the prelims, the main event of the prelims, filthy Tom Lawler versus Vellante. Vellante came in 15th ranked in his weight class, and there was leg kicks galore from Vellante, and it seemed like Vellante was doing pretty good. But then I don't know what happened. I really don't. He was winning, and then somewhere, I believe in the second round, might have been towards the end of the first round. Lawler saw just a tiny opening after a attempted punch from Vellante and just caught him with the left to the chin, and lights were out. I felt like maybe Vellante wasn't quite out, but the referee saw him. I mean, let's put it this way: the punch landed, his lights went out. Okay, he did the whole rubber leg thing, like where basically his whole weight just crushes down, and he's out. But then he woke up pretty quickly. Like the referee was rushing in to grab him to stop the fight, to back off the other fighter, it seemed like he was responding. It seemed like he was ready to keep going. And he seemed like he really wanted some more, and was really particularly irritated that the fight was stopped. It's a tough call because, I mean, his lights did go out. I mean, he was knocked out. but it seemed like he came to before the referee called off the fight and could have possibly maybe kept the fight going. But hey, if you don't want the fight stopped, you should try not to get caught with a punch to the jaw and get your lights turned out. I mean, never put it in a referee's hands, man, or else you never know what's going to happen. I was kind of surprised. It really looked like Lawler was going to lose. It was his, I guess, his first fight back from a long layoff, and people were kind of wondering if he still had it. He got the knockout victory, so I mean that's a big boost for him. There was a couple comments like where like a lot of people saw it my way, like where Vellante kind of had like the fight, and then just kind of got caught with one punch, and that was that. But hey, the guy still, I mean, Lawler still won. You can't take that away from him. I mean, all he can do is win the fight, and it doesn't really matter if it's clean or it's dirty or whatever. As long as he wins, it's pretty much all that matters. Unless he cheats, unless he gets caught, doing steroids or whatever they use now. But like I said, the story of the prelims was split decisions. Story of the prelims was long 3-round fights with little action, a lot of stalling, a lot of filling out, and then basically somebody having to win just so there wasn't draws. Technically, I felt that the Weiland Caraway fight, Caraway won. It's just that he wasn't like super dominant in his win. I felt like Saunders and Robertson could have been a draw. I felt that Miller and Castillo could have been a draw. I wouldn't have given either of those fights a finish. And that, the main event was at least a knockout. But it's just soured on me a little bit because I felt like maybe Vellante could have kept on going just a little bit longer. That I felt like his lights shut out, but the lights came back on really, really quick. But hey, once the fight is stopped, the fight is stopped. So as far as like prelims, I don't care if it is free. It was awful. I didn't like them at all. I even made a comment before they even started on Twitter that I wasn't really. My hopes weren't that high. Felt like UFC's had a lot of good luck lately as far as the cards. That they've had really, really entertaining fights, and I felt like maybe tonight was one of those nights where it might not be as good. The prelims kind of made that seem like it was a possibility, but then the main card kind of rebounded a little bit, especially with the final 3 fights. And the first fight had a big knockout from Joe, so I mean it was kind of a really big departure between the prelims and the main card. But I would say the prelims story of the night was split decisions to agonizingly boring fights. That's all for me, Rob the Many, your host. This is my broken thoughts on UFC Chicago. If you liked the video, click subscribe, share, get the word out. Otherwise, you guys all take care. And I'll be back next week for the big Rousey Correa fight. Be giving my thoughts on that. Stay tuned. You guys take care.